This is your idea of Messiah? Such a Messiah I don't want. Such a Messiah is completely inconsistent with the Jewish scriptures. And don't tell me that was the Catholic Church. Don't tell me that was Rome. Don't blame it on the Vatican. The Reformation, what a wonderful thing that was. Luther, I miss him so much.
Okay, call you live on the air. Please tell us your name, where you're calling from.
Yes, my name is Robert Harrison from Concord, North Carolina, and my question to the rabbi is the characteristic of the Mashiach, basically the personality of the Mashiach, and you can see that in Zechariah 9, verse 9, that he will be riding on a donkey into Jerusalem, and the characteristic of him is he is humble and just, not arrogant, but a humble Messiah riding into Jerusalem on a donkey. And we can see in the Gospels where the personality of Yeshua completes that, because God says he is humble and lowly and riding onto a donkey. If he could address the personality of the Messiah in Zechariah 9, and then Jesus completing that into the Gospels, the same humble, lowly personality.
Go ahead and hang up now and tune in for your answer. Rabbi?
The heart of your question is one that I don't think I've ever been asked on air. And that is, the text says in Zechariah 9:9 that describing the Messiah, and you're correct, as ani, which means lowly or humble. And you're suggesting that Jesus was a very humble person. Therefore, his character personifies precisely what humility is. And therefore, I should somehow become a Christian. This should be very compelling. As it turns out, that is not the way Jesus is portrayed in the Gospels. That means in the Gospels, we can go to a Q source, for example. Let's go to Matthew chapter 12 as an example. We're told by Jesus himself that I am so important that the people of Nineveh condemns you. Why? Because when Jonah came to the people of Nineveh, and Jonah came to the people of Nineveh 800 years earlier, the people of Nineveh responded. And here you have one, me, who is greater than Jonah. There is no passage anywhere in the Jewish Bible where a prophet so arrogantly says that I am greater than somebody and than another prophet. You can have God saying that Moses was the greatest prophet of all, but Moses doesn't go around saying that. Isaiah doesn't go around saying that. I mean, this is unparalleled. And in case it goes further. In Matthew chapter 12, the very next passage, verse 42, he says, the queen of the south, meaning the queen of Sheba, she rises up against this generation. Why? Why does she condemn it? Because she came from the ends of the earth to just hear the wisdom of King Solomon. Yet there's one here with you, meaning me, who is greater than Solomon. Does that sound like humility? There is no parallel to this. That means there is no prophet in the Hebrew Bible that says that I am greater than another prophet. It is true that the God of Israel will say that Moses is the greatest of all prophets and that he was more humble, but God is speaking. And God is speaking in Deuteronomy that no one spoke to God in the manner, the level of revelation that Moses had. But never does Moses say this himself. Never does Joshua, never does Isaiah, never does Ezekiel, never does Jeremiah, never does Micha, never do the prophets speak that I am greater than other prophets. So as it turns out, if we are to look at this guy, this is a Q source because it's in Matthew chapter 12, and you have a corresponding passage, it's almost identical, in Luke chapter 11. Here, Jesus literally, we are told, this is a putative saying of Jesus. And the reason I point out it's a Q source is because the Q source, meaning the passages that are common to Matthew and Luke, more than 200 of them, but that do not appear in Mark, are very likely to be older than Mark, are likely to be older than Mark, because they're filled with the putative sayings of Jesus, likely. So it doesn't mean this is authentic, doesn't mean Jesus actually said, that's pure speculation. But it's probably earlier, right? So what we find in the Christian Bible does not support what you've described, but I think much more importantly, much more germane, if Jesus is qualified to be the Messiah, if what he did is compelling, is consistent with the Hebrew Bible, I think, is to look at Zechariah chapter 9, verse 9 and verse 10. Those two passages are connected. How do you know? Because the first word of Zechariah 9:10 is v'hichresi, and it's a continuation. Zechariah 9:9 conveys the Messiah coming into Jerusalem humbly on a donkey, for sure. But Zechariah 9:10 tells us that the Messiah will usher in a world peace. World peace? Did Jesus usher in peace? Forget about Matthew chapter 10, where Jesus says, we are told that I didn't come to bring peace but the sword, to set families against each other. Forget all that. Did he bring peace to the world? Is there any nation, any peoples that are more warlike than the followers of Jesus? Is there any religion that spilt more blood than Christendom? The bloodiest religious war in human history began in 1618. For 30 years, Christians slaughtered each other. That's why it's called the 30-Year War, and eviscerated the Holy Roman Empire. This is your idea of a Messiah? A Messiah like this we're not waiting for, we don't want. It's strange, incidentally, that you asked that question, because here we are in the month of May. Why is this significant? Because go back to 1096. It is in this month, in the month of May, that crusaders, acting upon their faith, launched the first crusade, the French crusade, and slaughtered the Jews of the Rhineland, slaughtered them here right now. This is your idea of a Messiah? That means these people firmly believed in Jesus. These were not liberal Episcopalians. So the people who were followers of Jesus thought it right to slaughter the Jewish people in the first crusade. Just that's the first crusade. People think of the Crusaders as those who came to Jerusalem to liberate the Holy Land from the infidels. But when the Crusaders thought to themselves, whoa, we're right here in the Rhineland. Like, we could take care of them here. And they did. And they slaughtered the Jews, burned Jews alive at the stake. This is your idea of a Messiah? Such a Messiah I don't want. Such a Messiah is completely inconsistent with the Jewish scriptures. And don't tell me that was the Catholic Church. Don't tell me that was Rome. Don't blame it on the Vatican. The Reformation, what a wonderful thing that was. Luther, I miss him so much. The father of the Reformation, who uttered vile screeds against the Jewish people that are unparalleled. Augustine never expressed such disgusting remarks about the Jews as Luther. May perish in hell. Calvin, his curses against the Jewish people will never be forgotten. These are the disciples of your idea of a Messiah. Peace, humility. The reason why Judaism doesn't accept the Christian Messiah is not because of bias and we're not blind and there's no veil over our eyes, there are no scales over our eyes. We looked into the abyss. We saw the church. We looked at the holy Jewish scriptures and we saw the promises. Let us hope that the nations of the world will discover this. look at Tanakh, the holy scriptures of God, and turn back to the true God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, so that it might be fulfilled what the prophet Zephaniah uttered in chapter 3, verse 9, that there will be a safa brura, that all the nations will speak in a pure speech. May we see that quickly in our time. Thank you for your question.
אדון עולם אשר מלך בטרם כל יציר נברא ועת נעשה